Hey, do you know who Mr. Beast is? He's an upstart. You will know in a couple of years. He's going places.
A better you starts today.
Just in case you don't know, he's some sort of Transformer action figure. I didn't realise that he had toys the other day. That is how out of the loop I am. And I was like, wow, Mr. Beast toy? I want one. And then I remembered I'm in my 30s. Hey, you know that he's in a spotted bottle with this water everywhere, but not a drop to drink, and that's why Mr. Beast is trying to do something about it, and the entire internet is angry at him, purely because the usual things. There's better things to spend the money on. It's going to take ages. There's the myriad of damn Mr. Beast. Up yours. Am I allowed to do this? Well, I'm doing it right now. Yeah, there's that's happening at the moment. Pretty much, they're all just the claims of, like, you know, it's that over and over again. Anytime somebody ever does anything charitable, usually the criticism is there's better ways to spend the money, and that's absolutely true. There is always a better way to spend the money. Fair criticism. Anyway, now that we've got that out of the way, let's just talk about this very, very, very briefly. That's interesting. I think that it's quite interesting, and I do like this, that you have all of these YouTubers, even if it is for PR purposes, who cares? The point is, I like the fact that they are always doing something philanthropic, or linking their name to something that is philanthropic. Why? Because it puts out this wider message that doing that has merit. That's a very nice thing. And it's not just nice because, they're doing charity. I'm talking more about it fulfilling, just for your own selfish gain. No, you thought that I was sitting there being like, that's good, isn't it? No, I'm just sitting there just being like, yeah, let's talk about spiritual gains. One of my favorite subjects. One of my favorite subjects on this channel is talking about exactly this, which is Tony Robbins has a very good chart for pretty much determining every decision that you're ever making in your entire life. Every single decision is always going to be motivated by 6 different things. And once you understand these 6 things, you will understand what is driving you most of your life. Do you know what they are? Sorry if you're an oldie. If you're an oldie, we're going through them again. Here they are. Growth. Actually, we'll end on growth. Sorry about that. We'll start with the basic ones. Significance. So everybody needs to feel important. Yeah? And they will find different ways of getting importance. If you are a ghetto gangbanger, you will get significance out of bludgeoning innocents. That's a way to be significant. Another way to be significant is to be a mad gamer. See how they're different? I suppose they're both... Look, both of them are shooting. Then the next one after that is connection. Connection is just love. You need to have connection to feel fulfilled. You know how there's that old... I can't remember when I was even talking about this. I think it was on the Red Thread podcast. But we were discussing how babies back in the day weren't touched by mothers' hands when they were in orphanages. They used to touch them with gloves, and they thought that, oh, well, this is much more hygienic. This is good for the child. They died. Lots of them died because there was no touchy-touchy with other human beings. Isn't that sad? Well, you should have been sad about it 100 years ago. Get over it. Get over the dead babies. That's the second one. The second one is that you will always need to feel connection. That is a human need. The other 2 needs are a complete dichotomy of one another, which is, one of them is that you will need to experience certainty. What's certainty? I can pay the bills next week. That's certainty. But you will also need to experience uncertainty. When you can pay the bills, what do you think? I'm bored. I want to go on a trip. And then you go on the trip and then you think, oh my God, I can't pay the bills. And then you want certainty again. There is that endless dichotomy that is always the to and fro of your life. And I think that is one of the worst paradigms that you can ever be in. If you are constantly being motivated by these 2 points, and a lot of people unconsciously are, because it's very easy to get into that spiral dynamic in life. It's very easy to just go from, I need safety to, I'm bored of safety. I need safety to, I'm bored of safety. This is what happens a lot in dating, for instance, that you end up dating somebody who is a bastard, and that feels really bad, and so you move to somebody who's really boring, and then that sucks, and so you move back to somebody who's really bad. That is that yo-yo effect that happens with a lot of people in their lives, and that usually happens a lot of the time from not having your life sorted. You are not designing your life. You are letting life happen to you, and then you get trapped in that dynamic. That happens. Anyway, usually once that you kind of grow up the Maslow hierarchy of needs, that you've got your rent sorted, that you've got a job, that you've got some kind of consistency in life, you have a girlfriend, you have a loving family, etc., etc. Something feels missing. What is it? These are the 2 spiritual keys to life. I am absolutely convinced of them. I truly think that Tony Robbins figured this out. This is just the meaning of life. Fight me about it. Growth and contribution. These are the last 2 keys. Growth and contribution. And of course, coming to my seminars. I've got 5 of them coming up in Sydney. Make sure that you get your tickets to it. Links below. Those are going to be awesome. What are they going to be about? They're about mysterious things. Can't let you know. But everybody that when we did these, last time we did 10 in Sydney last year or the year before, can't remember. But the point is, everybody loved going every single week because it keeps you focused and it builds on itself. It is the discipline of attending and being in a room with a bunch of other people that are intent on improving themselves. There is an energy and an electricity that builds you. That's why I think that you should get your tickets. I also think that you should sign up to Jordan Shanks, and the reason I think you should sign up to Jordan Shanks is you get 3 of these extra videos a week, so that, and then, as a result of that, you build momentum in life. You build momentum. You build momentum when you have somebody there that is holding your hand and saying, you are a worm. So I don't know why you have a hand, but I'm taking your tail. I'm taking your tail, I'm dragging you out of the earth, and I'm putting you in the sun so you'll be like, no, no. And then the next day you come in, and then you're like, but it's a little bit better. That is what we are going to try and do with your life. That is exactly what we want to do with your life. Anyway, let's go back to this. When you are in a conundrum like this, and you've got all of those needs done, you need growth and contribution. And I think that at the end of the day, it's quite sweet, really. Aiden Ross, it's probably the most hairy back I've ever seen in my life, and XQC, and Mr. Beast, 3 amigos, them against the world, coming up with a way to philanthropically give back. And I think that at some point, the motivation... Look, you could probably say it all you like that it's all for PR. There is definitely the motivation that when you are as successful as that, you're bored. There's only so much joy that you can get from endless Rolexes. At some point, you want to give back because it is a law of nature. A tree grows so that it can bear fruit. This is the dichotomy. This is the good dichotomy to be a part of. Growing, contributing. Growing more so that you can contribute more. That is the great point of human existence that probably only about 5% of the population ever get to. Even when, look, a lot of the time when people are extremely wealthy, they still just stay in uncertainty. They might just develop a coke habit or something. Some of them evolve to the next level. And it's not necessarily even rich people. Poor people do just get to that next level where everything else is just sort of stable there, and then they kind of grow in other ways and they can contribute in other ways. Generally, though, what happens is you make a lot of money, and then you either start developing in self-destructive behaviors if you stay in those 4 human needs down here, or you keep expanding out. And your imprint keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger as a result. That happens when you start taking growth and contribution seriously. You grow so you can contribute. Now, what does growth mean to you? That's what this channel's about. That's exactly why I think that you should subscribe to it. Because we are trying to map you out as a person. You individually, what your unique traits and talents are, and maximizing them. So that you can get onto this path. This is the meaning to life. I'm telling you now. Look, I've said this before on this channel. But you go look at the Friendly Jordy stuff. You can't hurt my feelings anymore. I mean, look, I'm an e-celebrity. Worse, I'm an e-celebrity in politics. What do you think the chances are that there's people saying really malicious, nasty, defamatory things about me right now? 100%? Okay, let's be generous to them. 98%. There is a 98% chance that right now someone's writing something being like, I thought Friendly Jordy's on the train, and he was fat. And that's probably happening right now. Or, you know, the usual things of like, he's a Labour shill. That kind of crap. Yeah? Does that hurt my feelings anymore? No. Because I know that I've contributed more to Australia than most people in its history have. Single-handedly. Single-handedly, didn't have any help at all. No, but like me and the small team that we have, we did something that I challenge you to find anyone on earth that has had that much impact. We had a lot of impact. We risked our lives for it. But as a result, there is a feeling of, I've done my bit, I can coast for a bit. You know, this is the great thing about contribution. It silences that endless. Don't you think that there's always some kind of like, you know, I'm unfulfilled, I suck, that kind of thought in the back of your head that is only silenced by contribution. My other great example of this is that somebody from our community here, they started removing lead pipes from the third world. They built a charity around it. What were they before that? What were they before this channel? A bum. They were on the dole, feeling sorry for themselves. I just kept hammering this in. You need to contribute in life. You need to contribute in life. One day I was reading a random Google article about the fact that there's still 75 countries, I think, that still have lead pipes in them. He's removed it from 18. Look, that was years ago that he told me about this. He's probably up to like 30, 40 countries at this point that he's completely eradicated lead pipes. We're talking about tens of millions of people that he has saved from lead poisoning. Do you think it's going to be easy to hurt that guy's feelings? And when I'm even talking about hurting people's feelings, you know what's usually happening is you do just read a nasty comment about you on the internet. Somebody does say something nasty to you at work, and then that plays on your head. Why is that playing in your head? That is playing in your head because it hits your ego. It hits the way that you see yourself, that you know deep down is a deficiency of yours. How do you silence that? You silence that by having proof in the real world that, no, I'm a good person, I did what counts, I helped. That's always what is always going to silence the most vicious critic in the world, which is you. Every single time, no matter what happens, you can always go back and say, I contributed. I built that thing. That thing didn't exist before me. I was worth my weight. And this is why I want from this video specifically for you to write down specifically your contributory goals. It's always important to go back to these. It doesn't matter if you don't fulfill these in the next 10 years. I just want you to write them down because you know something, you'll move towards it. And as a result of moving towards it, guess what? You are going to be more successful in every field. You will just be a better person outright. And I think that a lot of it is just quashing that inner critic. A lot of it is just quashing the inner critic. Because even if you are attracted, let's say, to one of these videos, the reason for that is that you aren't extremely selfish to the point that you think, no, I'm a good person because I exist. There is something in the back of your mind always just being like, nah, you're a bit scummy, aren't you? And so you need to quash that. And the way that you do it is just by writing down, man, if I was able to contribute this before I died, if I was able to do even 1/10 of that, if I was able to do something, I don't know what it is. Let's just say greening the desert because I've been thinking about it a lot. If I was able to contribute somehow to greening the desert before I die, man, I'd feel proud about my life. Doesn't it just give you peace even thinking about that right now? That's incredible. And what does that do? It lifts you out of the day-to-day. Most of the time you're sitting there and you're complaining about, oh, someone at work was mean to me. The government sucks. Bills are too high. Uber was cheaper than it used to be. Everything is just this endless victimization. When you start thinking in the paradigm of growth and contribution, this is the other thing as well. If you grow, you end up just naturally contributing more anyway. And if you think about contribution, you naturally grow more as well. That's what I'm talking about. That positive dynamic starts working with this. But it takes you out of the day-to-day. And the most important thing that you could possibly do ever to make sure that you grow as a person, that you live the life that you want to live, that you live the life of your dreams, that is that you need to be out of your current circumstances. This is another reason why I want you to write down what you want to contribute before you die, right? Like, I just want you to write down a couple of things that you think, I think that this is something in the world that could be fixed and addressed, right? Doesn't matter how you do it, I just want you to write it down. Good luck.